Hi, and welcome to Homo Ludens, the channel on history and board games. And we are back for this final episode of the End of Empire series, the series dedicated to the British Way, where Joe and I are playing the full End of Empire campaign. So if you haven't watched the previous episode, I recommend that you go see. There is a playlist. I will maybe have added a link somewhere. Not yet because I haven't thought about it, but there is a playlist somewhere. I will add it in the description after the live where you can watch all 4 episodes, but also the interview that I did with Stephen earlier, way before the game was actually released. And with me tonight, I have obviously my nemesis, Joe, who's here to play the role of the insurrection, which is weird. We should maybe have made you play the UK.
The British. So
Yeah,
we talked about this at the start. The idea is that you want to have this win-win situation.
yeah, I
Either
would
you
be
win
always
or the
happy.
British lose. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's fair enough. That's the very me kind of thinking. That makes a lot of sense. Not surprised that Fred from the past thought that way. And we have also with us Stephen, who was here for the first 2 episodes, couldn't be here for the third one because it was a recorded one. We had timing problems, and you're back for that final episode, which would be great because there is this whole phase at the end of the campaign where we look through the map and discuss, okay, what was the outcome of that campaign, or like what did happen, and just thinking about the overall situation, maybe compared to what happened historically, would be also quite interesting, and do that whole discussion. So that's pretty much it. If you're watching this live, of course, you can add some comments or ask questions in the description. You might have been already be playing the game, so you might want to ask for tips and stuff like this. So feel free to ask. Steven will be facilitating the game, so he will have the opportunity to answer your questions live, I guess, while Joe and I try to figure out what's the best move. Even if Joe should play fast, I will be a bit slow. Cyprus is definitely not the game that I have played the most in the multi-pack, not my favorite. I think actually my favorite, or in chronological order, up until Cyprus. So Palestine, then Malaya, and then I think the one that I find the most compelling is Kenya, and then it drops. I think Cyprus is the one that I'm a bit like, oh, Cyprus. So I'm a bit worried. I'm extremely bad at this one. I'm very confused about how it works. I'm always a bit surprised, but I try to reread the propaganda rules, which is something probably figuring out the propaganda around in all of those games is critical. I feel even more so than in other coin games, because a lot of the VP shifts are going to happen here, and it should really inform a lot your strategy, especially as you have such short campaigns. But yeah, still pretty excited to actually get this campaign to the conclusion, and all that. And if you're watching this not live, well, I will probably have added time codes in the description so you can go to different phases of play. I can see that there is a few of you already in the chat. Hey, Stuart, and Alan is here. That's nice because we've shifted to this model of doing pajama streams really early in Europe, and people like Alan usually struggle to follow the streams because it's usually 3 a.m. for them or something like this, which is not ideal. So it's nice that we are having like something that is a bit more sensible for people in the US, and actually also for you, Stephen. This time we don't have to make you wake up at 4 to do a stream, so I guess that's also a nice change. And hi, Tony, and that's great. Well, before we jump in, Stephen, do you want to give a bit of context on the Cyprus emergency before we start playing?
Okay, so for the Cyprus emergency, this is going to be Joe playing as Ioka, the insurgent group, who actually want to achieve not just really independence, but they want to achieve enosis, which is the group essentially fighting to have Cyprus rejoin Greece. So in other words, it's a group where you're trying to secede away from the British Empire but join another country. And the British essentially want to get Cyprus to independence but also maintain influence over the country, particularly their bases, which we'll actually see that on the board as when they start. And they actually still have those bases today. And so it's essentially a struggle over this kind of a much weirder victory condition than what you saw in the previous 3 games, which was much more about simply, I don't want to be part of the British Empire anymore. Please leave. And then one of the other big wrinkles in this one, which we'll see, is that international opinion played a much bigger role, both because the UN and things like the Human Rights Convention in Europe were much more in effect for this conflict than earlier ones that you see in the multi-pack. And also because The Greek government, not surprisingly, was supporting Ioka to try to get that objective where that Cyprus would join Greece. And then the Turkish government was actually trying to keep Cyprus independent to protect the Turkish Cypriot minority on the island. And so they were both like very carefully watching the conflict. And what made that particularly complex is that the UK, Turkey, and Greece were all in NATO by that time. And so it's actually a big kind of political struggle between members of NATO within the Cold War. And I think that that's probably good enough for background. But the thing that you probably want me to provide a little bit of background on as we do it is that we're going to have to roll on this pre-war option table before the game begins.
And yeah, I'm not showing anything yet, so maybe you want me to.
We'll get to
go,
it in a second, but yeah.
Yeah, because I heard the ping from TTS. Because for those of you who are wondering how we're gonna play a board game digitally, this time we're actually gonna play using Tabletop Simulator, which is the official TTS mod coming from GMT Games, and this is where we're gonna play it. Of course, we all have copies at home. Mostly because we all worked on the game in a capacity or another. So there is also that you need to know. So a review copy, no, it's actually not a review copy was provided for me. I think it was a developer copy, a lead playtester copy that I got. So, and Joe, so do I need to say it if it's not a review copy? I'm not
No,
sure.
because you worked and you earned that. That's like a wage. So you definitely
exactly.
I don't think you need to advertise that.
Yeah,
but you are listed as lead playtester, so you might be.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased. I'm definitely biased toward this game. So maybe I should disclose that at least. Good. So yeah, what you were saying is that we're actually going to roll on the.
Yeah. So let's actually look at the campaign map first quickly. I just want to give a quick summary of where we've got to so far in the campaign. So you can see our first game, Palestine. We got a surrender result, which meant I absolutely trashed Fred in that one. Bad
I don't think we even played the 3 campaigns. I think you trashed me on campaign 2. Yeah.
Yep. Which is this is the same for Cyprus actually. The only way to get a surrender result in Palestine and Cyprus is to win in campaign 1 or campaign 2. So you need to win before the final campaign. Then we went to Malaya, where I won a minor victory, so that was a much closer game. Fred was improving. And then we went to Kenya, where most recently Fred managed to defeat me with an exit, so a minor British victory. And while that looks bad for Fred overall, what happened is
like the trend is going up.
Fred, you're not bad here, and that's because you haven't had any trouble in the rest of the British Empire so far. So some of these campaign events can be issues elsewhere in the Empire, and you've got quite lucky on those. So there has been stuff going on in the Empire, but it hasn't been particularly newsworthy. There have been peaceful exits from the Empire and so on. Yep. For now, exactly.
I got lucky for now, so we'll see what comes up. Yeah.
So we're at 9 here on the campaign track, Imperial Prestige, which it's in the middle in this Winds of Change area, but you've got the potential if you do really well in this game to get up to the blue area and get a big victory. So that's where we're at. Okay, so campaign procedure. We start by rolling on the pre-war options table, so we can have a look at that, and I'll get dice over here so we can have a look. Let's roll it.
So that's a 4, meaning that nothing changes. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the standard start.
I mean, Stephen can maybe still tell us what it means.
So
what is Agios Georgios? Why was
what these pre-war option tables are doing is that they're going to allow you to fluctuate the setup of any of the games, whether as a part of the campaign or whether you just want to do it, and you can either roll or you can just pick them as almost like alt history starts, and each of them are thematically organized around one big issue right before the conflict started. And so for this specific one, it's about how prepared is the insurgency for the actual start, and particularly are they getting enough arms? Are their arms transfers from Greece actually working? Like, can they get them through? And because what in part sparked off the conflict was a particular arms vessel got essentially intercepted by the Royal Navy. And so if you roll, it's about essentially looking at the counterfactual outcomes of if that arms vessel got through, if the British, for instance, cracked down and actually set up the blockade much earlier. Those kind of things is what you can explore with that. But they unfortunately rolled a 4, so we don't actually get to see any alt history here.
Sorry about that.
We'll see some more old history soon, I think. So I'm going to build the deck while, Fred, you now get to draw a campaign event to see what is going on elsewhere in British Empire.
I will do just that. I will draw this event, and I will flip it. And this is Operation Musketeer. Do you want to give the context, Stephen, of Operation Musketeer?
Yeah, I can give the context. So as Joe just mentioned, Fred is actually very close to getting back up to colonial retrenchment. And like the Anthony Eden government in real life, there's this moment where they decided, we could try to make ourselves look important and get the empire back by standing up to Nasser, who had nationalized the Suez Canal. And so what they did is they launched this, what most of you who have played Twilight Tribble will remember, the Suez Crisis card. Yep. This is actually the military operation name for the Suez Crisis, where Britain and France essentially tried to retake the Suez Canal.
Not only Britain and France. It was a false flag operation with Israel involved.
Yes,
as well,
it was.
It was a really zany scheme.
So remember those people that beat Fred earlier in the campaign? They actually, of course, are now coordinating with him to actually overthrow Nasser. And this is also actually in Colonial Twilight. It's just in all of GMT's games. So that's a long thing to say that Fred is now going to have to decide whether he's going to want to launch kind of Operation Musketeer or whether he's just going to take the nationalization of.
I'm totally going against Nasser. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to do my last gamble, and this is what we're here for. If I want to win, I need to go for it. And when I roll my dice, and Joe does so, we have a question from Tony here asking about when the game is going to be available at British retailers. To my knowledge, it is already and has been for a couple of months, right?
Yes, that's right. You can buy it from Second Chance Games or from other stores. Regular game stores should have it.
I'm wondering if Zatu has it.
No, I think that's pre-order for them. So I've been trying to track this, including the European ones. And one thing I will note is that if you can get it on Second Chance Games, and of course I'm biased here, I would get it as soon as possible, because I have noticed with both retailers in France and the US and even some of the UK ones, it's going out of stock, and then it's taking them like a month to get it back in stock. And it's even at some places about to go out of stock for the second time. And so I'd get it while you can if you're really interested in it, especially if you're in France or the UK, because it could be a substantial amount more time to get it restocked.
Good news for us, I guess, sales are going well. That's interesting. Okay, out of stock in UK.
Yeah, and you're welcome, Tony. If you have any question, just reach out. Both Joe and I also live in the UK, so we can also have a look. I would recommend a couple of French shops that also potentially would have it, like Exasim or Agorajeux. The thing is that because of Brexit, you might have shipping costs may be a bit more expensive, and you might have some tax or something like this. I'm not sure how it exactly works, but that's also an option, and you should have good prices over there. And usually they are pretty good at having stocks of GMT games.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so either I have more and I go up, or I have less and I lose 2 points. That's the
or
point,
we
right?
equal. It's nothing, so it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
Whew.
Ooh.
Oh.
So this game has started off very historically accurate, and that Fred has made a complete fool out of himself. And historically, I'm pretty sure Anthony Eden immediately resigns basically after this happens.
So that's a minus. That's a difference. So it's a -4, right?
-4. No. I lose 2. I lose 2. I would have won the difference, but I think if I lose, I lose 2.
No, it's the other way around. If you won, you would get 2.
Oh yeah.
If you lose, you lose the difference.
God, that's really bad.
So that's bad. So now you're fighting not to have a complete colonial flight result or whatever it's called.
For the recap at the end, go ahead and set that card aside, because we're going to need to remember why it is.
Why this happened. Because it was going not so bad up until now, actually.
Yeah, we'll put this over here. Okay, cool. Well, let's get into the game then. So over here in Cyprus, and we've got a similar setup to Palestine here. So these cells scattered around in these town regions, which are kind of semi-urbanized areas because it's quite a small island. And then we've got mountains, which I'm hiding out in here. And Fred's got troops and police, like in Palestine again. And these are the bases that Stephen mentioned. So large military bases, which are actually particularly important after the loss of Palestine, right, Stephen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they actually referred to Cyprus as the unsinkable aircraft carrier, to essentially allow them to continue to have influence. They saw it as in the Middle East, and And that's still, I think, the justification for today, but particularly after they lost the Suez Canal too, I think that justification started becoming a little bit more hollow.
It's not really like they can go anywhere. No, just get to the east of the Mediterranean and then sit around there. Okay. Great. So let's get going. We'll draw an event. That's not going to do too much. So
yeah, remove. Yeah, nothing happens here.
Yeah. So great. So I'll start with a bang then. So full open special, and I will infiltrate in Nixia to replace this police with a cell. And if Fred had any intel, I would have taken as well. So it's infiltrate, and then I'll start doing some.
So just for people watching, infiltrate is Joe's special activity.
Yeah, that's my special activity. Yep.
And actually, with infiltrate, he can do any operation. So it's really flexible for him.
Thanks, Pierre. I'm really enjoying the cheerleading here from Pierre and Stuart.
Yeah.
Feel very, very well supported.
Yeah. It's always nice for me to feel that I have so many people on my side. It's really appreciate it.
Well, it seems like the audience is on Joe's side, but the sun is on Fred's side because it's just blinding Joe from being able to
I actually cannot see what's going on. Yeah. That's great.
So I think it's about even odds right now.
I'm just picking spaces at random and just clicking and doing activities in those spaces. So I'm going to do a sabotage operation. So sabotage in Nixia, and I'm going to spend my arms cache in Trudos Mountains to enhance that, actually, which means it'll be an automatic success. So I'll add a sabotage. It's always a lot of pressure when you've got the little Stephen after each of your moves. If it's a good move, you get a little and if it's not, you get Okay.
But it might be good. It's just he's not sure yet.
Not sure. Yeah.
I think the worst is when he's coughing. Like that's this is where things are going really badly.
Yeah. Like well, actually, things are going really bad. You missed me trying to play Transhumanity yesterday.
Oh, I was really hoping to find this one. I wanted to play it with Dan, Dan and Joe. But it's impossible to get a copy, unfortunately. But we wanted to stream a game. I guess when it would go back in print, we could do that. So I guess in the meantime, we'd probably do the very spicy one.
Pax Emancipation.
Yes, Pax Emancipation. I'm a bit worried, but I guess we'll try. And let's if someone sees this and has a copy they don't want to use of Transhumanity and want to send it over, let me know. But if not, that would be Emancipation. So once sabotage done,
sabotage in Limito. So let's go. And on this, I need a 3+. So nice, the other one. And the sabotage in Papos. And I'm not doing Famagusta and Lanaka because the police give me a.
Yeah, so you would need a 4+ here. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Got him. So lost sabotage. That's it.
Okay. So I have a lim up.
Or an event. Or you can. You can also pass to gain one.
That's the thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking about getting the intel, because as soon as I have intel, I can start to do. Patrol and send units in prison, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need intel for that, but send underground one the prison you do.
Yeah. And what's the distribution of the? What's
it's
130 012. Yep.
Oh, so I could have an intel 0. Yeah.
Yep. But the intel 0 you can still use for a couple of things.
Yeah. Because the other option that I could have is actually I could do a limited deploy, which is probably also. Oh no, that would be only in one space.
Yep.
It would be one police. I probably want to have a full turn to do a deploy. So you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a limited up here, and I'm going to pass, and I'm going to take an intel chit. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to paste it in my resource, and that's an intel 2. I'm happy with that.
Okay. Cool. Children revolt.
Okay. Move 2 cells to available from any space.
This is another notable feature of this conflict on the part of Ioka.
So the Ioka was very well aware that this was happening under international scrutiny. So one of the things they did, knowing that they were fighting the British and that there were limits to what the British were going to do in terms of violence, is that they actually used school children to essentially do a lot of their protesting for them or their demonstrations for them, knowing that the British wouldn't be as harsh with their punishment. And the first British governor made the very bad call of, in response to that, punishing them by shutting down all the schools, which of course just means that you have tons and tons of school children with nothing to do but protest. So actually school reform under the second governor became quite an important way to try to stop them from using the children for that purpose. But as actually Joe and I were talking about this earlier today, that you can think of the conflict almost as like who tries to make themselves look better and the other guy look like a complete monster to the international community. And this is certainly one of the things that Ioka tried to utilize.
In big contrast to something like Kenya, where while the British were concerned to some extent, there just wasn't any of that international scrutiny on them at all.
So I think I'm going for a full turn, and I'm going to do. And Stephen, feel free to intervene if this is stupid. But my plan was to do. A patrol in Nicosia, and then do a diplomacy, which I don't really have, because I'm thinking if I hit the threshold of 2 in prison, this is where I can start to interrogate and gather some intel shit. So it's maybe not the most optimal thing to do right now, but yeah, I was thinking
I think it's perfectly good.
I do the patrol and I have this 2 intel shit that is exactly what I need to remove those. So this goes in prison.
It's also sometimes worth in all of these British away games doing an quite weak op and essay just to stop the opponent doing it. That can be perfectly sensible.
And then I think it's a pretty good essay to have the international opinions track. That's the thing, when I tried to do a practice round with Joe this weekend, I realized that this was a lot more important than RGD expected. And I was like, okay, I really need to focus on that a lot more and be more cautious with the curfew that I place on the board, because that's actually a bit spicy. So here I need to roll higher than 2, right? Or is it, yeah,
you don't need to roll. You don't need to roll because there are only 3 spaces with sabotage or curfews, so there's not enough going on for anyone to care, basically.
Oh yeah, it's 3 or fewer turn with sabotage, so that goes straight to 1. Okay, perfect, awesome.
So you can reduce that. I haven't caused enough trouble yet, basically. I can't do it. Okay.
Nice, Tony. And when you do, let us know how it goes. If you live in London, I would just say that if you live in London, or if it's easy for you to go in London, we have a wargame club every Monday night called Cardboard Emperors. And if you can come, I will be happy to play the British way with you. So just let me know. And you're just outside of London, so yeah, you should definitely come. So we play in Kensington at a pub called the White Bear. So you should definitely come and join us. The last few weeks, I would say that the British way was quite popular over there. So we have quite a few players, but I would be also happy to play it with you. I think playing it like really face to face is also part of the enjoyment of the game. It's a really nice production. Yep, then see you there.
Okay, I'm going to do a limited operation. I'm actually going to do a rob, which I often forget to use, but I'm going to rob here in Famagusta. So it's not quite as effective. If there was a police, I could remove it. I activate, and then I need to roll over the number of cubes, which is 0. So I succeed, and I get an amp cash and stick it up there. So I'm robbing a small police space or something like this to get some guns.
I mean, the only reason I forgive Stuart for having not yet played the copy that I shipped to him at my expense to the Ireland or whatever is because he did an excellent review of the Ben Madison game, Jeff Davis, on BGG. And if you haven't read that,
it's not on BGG. It's on his blog. He just reposted it on BGG.
Yes,
Stuart, if you want to share the link to your to your blog, it's an excellent blog, like top tier review on there.
Yeah,
I'll let you continue. Yeah,
I read it on his
we do
blog.
Also.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Go on, Stephen. I was just going to tell Stuart that we do have barbed wire on one of our tokens as well in the game.
Yes, yeah, that's true. There's on the curfews, but not necessarily surrounding slaves. But lo and behold, so I actually read it on his blog, and then I had someone send me the BGG thread, and it's just a real joy to go through those comments. Let me tell you, And Fred is actually very active there. I don't know if all of his posts got removed by our moderator.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, most of them
okay.
were removed.
Yeah.
I was too spicy apparently. But I've kept some of the for my archives, some of the replies. So if you want to read my original reply to the criticisms, to Stuart criticism, I'm happy to share it.
It's very un-British empire of you. You should have burned all those. You needed to have burned all of those records.
Oh yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy about those. I feel no shame about being mean to people being stupid on the internet. So yeah.
Fred, it's my turn first, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a capability that I'm not going to take. I'm going to take.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want capabilities.
I'm going to recruit, and I can recruit you guys in a space.
Actually, the capability is not that bad for at this stage of the game.
No, because it's not too bad.
It reduces by 50% your opportunity to have arms cache, which might be a pain in the ass for me. I'm always I never like doing those things.
I can also just rob to gain those, and also if you get international opinion to 0, I can't smuggle anyway.
You cannot smuggle anymore. So
there are
other
options.
So okay, I'm gonna do a limited up then, and with my limited up, I might want to prepare myself for a restore. I think, because I'm thinking I have 3 cities that are without, but if I'm thinking about the propaganda, if I get to 4, I get to the threshold to have more victory points, if I remember well, right?
That's right, yeah.
That it's either that or trying to, but the thing is that I feel like it's really hard for me before the international opinion track is at 0 to have control over your arms cache. So if I could restore and have 4 cities, that would be nice. And to restore, I need troops, police, and no Eoka.
You also need to have special activity, which you don't have.
Yeah.
I also need what? Yeah. No, but I mean preparing my turn with the lim up to do that in the next round. So that's the thing that I'm thinking about. The problem is that, like, I could restore here. And this is actually already ready for a restore. So I could do something else.
Yeah, so while Fred is sitting here thinking, I think that one thing that Joe and I are monitoring right now that I'll just reveal, basically, because it's coming up on BGG, is that there's probably, like, the strategy that the British should have used is the one that people have discovered to be highly effective in the game, which is to, and fun fact, not go around setting up a whole bunch of indiscriminate curfews that pisses everyone off, including the international community. And so it's really this kind of strategy of aggressively using the police to arrest people, arrest as many Eoka as possible to generate the intel machine. So that way you basically never put down a curfew, which then never makes you look bad. And so I think at low level play, or like, it's perfect.
Not even low level play, really. Just not, if you haven't that thinking, if you haven't played 15 games in a row, basically, it will still work fine, I think. So.
Yeah, but we're working on something right now. So if you have played 15 games and you're watching this thinking, oh, well, this is obviously what Fred should do, then yeah, maybe we'll do some on-the-fly changes just to irritate Fred.
So I think I'm going to do a single search here to actually go against what you were just saying.
Okay.
I'm going to do a single search here. I think I need. It's 1 for 3. I hate it. I hate search.
But you could take the 2 from Lanaka. That would be okay.
No, I don't want to do that. Okay, maybe. Okay, I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I'm going to flip this. That's what I do, and that's my single.
And it adds the curfew.
And it adds the curfew. Yeah. Here. Okay, and now I'm going to wait for the event, but I think I know what I'm going to do.
Nice one.
In place with troops, that's not removing any armed cars. Oh.
The Greek Laidwan, as they call him.
Yes.
I mean, that's... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't want you to do 3
kind of
limited operations.
Possibly the wrong way around. Although Laidwan was already up to stuff in the 50s, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He was the head of the communists, at least politically, during the French War. he's the guy that went down and actually basically fired the commander in the south, or at least told him to start marching north, and the guy died in Cambodia on the way back up to being reprimanded.
Okay, I'm gonna do a deploy, and so I'm gonna do a deploy in Famagusta. I'm gonna do deploy in Limassol, and I could do the deploy in a base too, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. And I'm going to do a deploy in Dekelia. So those are my 3 deploys. And then I'm going to restore in Nicosia and remove this. And that's, yeah. Yeah, and I guess you're going to take the event. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It's a very powerful event.
What am I going to do?
And yeah, Alan, definitely, if you're coming to London on a Monday night, you need to be at the White Bear. Would be a pleasure to be playing with you. Just let us know in advance, and it would be really awesome.
You know, a funny situation. Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll start with 2. I could rob.
Of course, you will.
I'll just start with 2 sabotages. That's fine. So here, big roll.
Yeah, you're wasting all of your big rolls on.
I know. Yeah, and sabotage here. Yeah, sweet. And then one other turn, and what I will do is I will travel from Famagusta. But I actually want to leave one here for reasons that will come later. Do I want to travel? I don't really have anything sensitive to have them travel. No, I can recruit. I'll just recruit one.
You're going to leave one here to propagandize. That's what you're going to do.
No, I'm going to do recruit it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you can recruit straight in Nicosia.
I can, because there's an arms station, so you need to put a curfew there. I mean, so this is the advantage of putting curfews down, is you can use them then to stop me getting spaces so easily. Not completely useless. Macarius. Here he is. The bishop. Archbishop.
Yeah, I think he's an Archbishop of Cyprus, basically.
Yeah.
So he's a Greek Orthodox religious leader. He's actually the political face of the Enosis movement. So Grievous, actually, we just saw them side by side. So first you just saw Grievous. He's actually the military commander of Enosis. And then the political leader is actually this Archbishop who gets deported by the British because they're so sick of him. And they can't really do anything else to him. So they deport him, and that's a big kind of political embarrassment for them.
Okay.
Troublemaker deported. It's the unshaded event.
Yep. I'm not going to take advantage of that, though, because I've got enough troublemakers, but it doesn't matter. And I can actually do propagandize here, where he's got a curfew. Same effect of this shift in international opinion 2 to the right. And then I can travel, which is what I'll do. So I'll travel from Famagusta and send them both here. And I'll travel here and back where I started with underground. And I'll do the same in Lanoka.
I shouldn't have searched. That's the
yeah.
It's like it had no positive
demonstration of the problem.
Yeah, there is absolutely no positive outcome for me, and you're way too flexible for me to do anything about it. And you can come back here anyway, so that's basically useless. Okay.
Again, it's a pretty good, I think, actual lesson about counterinsurgency, which is that you should take some hits that you in the immediate from the insurgents, if that allows you to build up more intel and then use violence more selectively, than to essentially feel like, oh, I've got all these things at my disposal, I'm just going to flail around hoping to do something, which is really the kind of mentality behind the curfews. Is if we've got all these troops that are basically invulnerable, which they are in the game, then we can just force our way to a solution, which didn't really work out so well.
I guess I'm going to do a lim up and go here, even if there is quite a good chance that the next one is going to be propaganda one.
Do you want to send this one as well?
Yeah.
Isn't it 1 for 1?
You need no, it's 2.
1 for 2.
Yeah,
you can't even really get the cash, unfortunately.
Okay, that sucks so much. I hate this game so much. I don't like it. It's just a pain.
You can just send someone to it instead if you want.
I don't have I could do the patrol, but I don't have intel yet.
Yeah.
I could do a single deploy, but I don't really see the purpose of it. Actually, I could do single deploy here.
You actually couldn't because you need more troops.
Oh yeah,
no
I need
one's
more
willing.
troops.
No one's willing to join your police force, so it's
Yeah.
intimidated.
I mean, you could try to do. I mean, it's very risky, but you could try to do a repeat of what you just did, which is.
Yeah, just to get an intel chit, but then I need to really be sure I don't get a 0-1.
But you on your next. Oh yeah, you can't unfortunately pair patrol and interrogate either. So
yeah, no either. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I could do patrol and diplomacy, which is probably what I will do. But I guess I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna pass and take an intel chit, and it's a 1, which is not really what I want, but that's just the way it is.
Oh, here he is. Turkish government.
Yes, this is the Prime Minister of Turkey at the time, and this is essentially either him encouraging Turkish groups on the island to escalate the situation, or essentially him, i.e., through the Turkish government, applying pressure to help it resolve it, essentially in the way that the British wanted it to be resolved.
I think I'm going to do patrol and diplomacy. So I think I'm going to place this one here. I'm going to redeploy some troops, and I'm going to place 1 troop here.
Oh, you can't with patrol. That's only with deploy.
Oh God, that's not even.
It's good to see that with a crafty Yoka player, that it's still very frustrating for the British.
And then I'm going to spend this to send this guy here. And then I'm going to, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have to roll, and actually have to roll 4 or higher.
Yeah, that's right.
Question for later: how far back in history do you think coin design can apply? Thinking Haitian Revolution, Mexican Revolution et al. So first off, you're asking the wrong guy at this point. If you haven't, I think I've even seen Alan's comments on my Guerrilla Generation video. You're asking like one of the biggest coin skeptics now, what the coin series can do. And like my easiest answer to that is like coin has already gone back much further than both the Haitian Revolution and the Mexican Revolution. So I don't necessarily think that that's probably the issue is the time. At least that's not what previous people have argued. And I think Haiti, at least you would probably, there's someone working on a game on the Haitian Revolution, I'm pretty sure, but not coin. But that one I think probably could work in terms of like this providing a general overview of the conflict, providing impressionistic mechanics. The Mexican Revolution is going to be hard because people are going to be tempted to do what essentially happened with the Russian Revolution, where you have like a million factions, or you try to really aggregate them into a few factions. And so I probably would recommend people slice and dice that, just like which is my overall recommendation with the Mexican Revolution, is like either focus on a couple of years or focus on a single geographic area, and that will make your life a lot easier.
So I actually think there are 2 separate questions when we're thinking about this, and one is what can the kind of general coin framework of sequence play and so on apply to, which I think could be lots of different things. And then the other would be the particular model of counterinsurgency in the coin series, which really doesn't apply to anything in the 20th century, broadly speaking. Something like that. I took the event, by the way, so I put the sabotage marker down.
And now we have the propaganda round.
Yes. So the propaganda round, you can maybe put it up on the screen and we can run through it. So we need to do a net of these, but we can do them one at a time. In this case, it doesn't matter. So international opinion is 2, so we move this down 2 spaces. I've got sabotage markers 1, 2, 3, because this is a higher value, 4, 5, 6. So it goes down another 6, down 6. And then red would gain 2 if there were no armed caches in mountains. And he would gain 1 for every 2 spaces without sabotage, but there are none of those. So we're all the way down to 6 there. Red, then I gain an armed cache, which I'm going to put in this other mountain. I'm actually going to put it in there. And then Fred gains 1 intel chip. And then Fred can move his police to any spaces with British pieces.
I think I'm gonna redeploy here, and I think that's fine.
I can move my arms caches around, but I'm not going to. Or one arms cache. And then this would shift down if 3 of your spaces had curfew or sabotage, but they don't. And then I get 1 sell out prison, and we remove all of the markers. Curfew's gone. Cool. Now we need to go to the campaign map again. So Fred, you need to choose your policy here. Stand firm, stay the course, or concessions.
I'm gonna go for stay the course.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Let me just add one fact about that. So you have not seen any of the colonial crisis events, which generally are going to lower imperial prestige. And I think that if you stay the course, you're probably going to best bet get 0, basically, which means that if you get any negative imperial prestige from those events, you're almost certainly going to end up in colonial retreat anyway. And so, like, standing firm, at least, which is probably not going to go so well, would at least give you a chance of maybe ensuring that you end up in wind of change, basically. So it's a tough call.
The thing is that the problem is that if I go for stand firm, I'm like right now I'm betting on the scuttle. Best case scenario, and a scuttle is going to be probably -3. So that's also a short loss. So I'm a bit unsure. I think that concession.
If you're betting on scuttle, you might want to give concession.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that I still want to go. I'm betting on a scuttle, but I hope for an exit, and I wouldn't want to have -1. Like I would like to at least stay at 0 and get my odds with the event, but I don't think it's realistic for me. In Cyprus, I just don't know how to keep the Ioka under control. I feel that I've always been a bit overwhelmed by how flexible they are. I feel like I cannot do anything to keep them under control. So I'm a bit, The thing is that if I do this, best case scenario would be maybe here at the end, hopefully, depending on what comes here, which is probably going to be bad. But I guess if I'm lucky, it's going to be stuff that is going to remove me even more troops. Which is also going to be bad anyway.
So this is your best chance to stay on 5, basically.
And I think if I go here, that's going to push me down to that area quite easily. Then I don't know what's there. I don't know what's going to come there, of course, but I'm betting a few of them. I think this one was the worst outcome I could have. I could have a -5 that would have been worse, but -4 was pretty high in the worst case scenario. So I think that I'm gonna stay the course. I don't really have a choice.
I mean, you'll have so I think Gold Coast and maybe Naziland, you have a chance to essentially get some imperial prestige back. Not that one though.
No. So I guess I'm gonna remove 2 troops, and that's still gonna be 1. So that's pretty awful.
And that basically it's actually, is it before Operation Musketeer historically?
Yes, this would have happened before Operation Musketeer. Yeah,
but basically you've been well and truly driven out of the canal zone, but you left with some dignity. You sent some troops to do a nice parade as you left or something.
Yeah, and now it puts me down to 4.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So you need to try and get a influence result now, which I think in Cyprus is getting above 3. Is that right? We might need to check, but that's fine. That's probably not going to happen. Then we go to the next campaign. Radio Athens. A nice picture of Athens. That won't do anything. Fine. Good. So I'm going to begin like I did last time. I'm going to infiltrate here again.
Yep.
And then I'm going to sabotage, and I'm going to actually spend this to enhance my sabotage roll in Nicosia. So I only need to roll a 2 here. Oh, there you go. Failed. And then I'm going to sabotage in Kapas. That little policeman managed to stop me sabotaging. Very good. And I'm going to sabotage in Papa. Got it. Okay. Yeah, okay.
I guess I'm going to do a limited patrol. And then I'm going to spend that intel chit to remove those 2.
Now, you could bring in a third police, right, to remove another one.
I thought it was limited to the number of. Oh, okay. So that I could. So that would be the number that I can remove that are hidden, and this one would be removed.
That's what I'm saying.
Because okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes it safer because I can only infiltrate if I have equal number of cells to police. Oh, this is a nice event for me. Probably less relevant for you.
Okay, so I know I want to interrogate. That's for sure. So what can I do is interrogate. I can search, but I don't want to do that. Or I can assault, but I cannot do that.
Now recall that you can use your intel to search without putting down curfews.
I don't have intel.
It also means
but I could do interrogate first. Yeah. So I'm going to do interrogate first, and I'm going to draw 2 chits, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So. Okay, nice. And then what I could do with this is search, remove any troops into adjacent container base, activate 1 cell for every cube. Just going to 1 cell per cube and place no curfew. Well, actually, this one is not really a problem because if you try to do a sabotage here, you're gonna have a +3. So +3. So technically, you cannot do it. So where I want to search is probably here and here. Mm-hmm. And so technically, I could send this guy in here and have this discarded to flip him up.
Yep. Great.
And then, do I want to take care of that? Can I take care of that? Not really.
No, take a couple of turns.
Yeah, you probably have to do the deploy movement to get enough troops in position.
I mean, if you send this one in instead from them assault,
then I would have the 3 there. Yeah.
Then you can send the 4 into that, which is what you need to take out these 2. Actually.
But I wouldn't be able to take this out.
Not unless you did what Stephen was saying, and you could deploy some troops there in a future turn and then assault.
Yeah. Do I want to do that? Maybe I won't. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do that and that. But then it leaves this open. Yeah,
I mean, it was open anyway, because I can come in when the troops doesn't bother me. So, yep. Okay. I will play the event. So I'll stick this over here.
Hey, Simon.
So I can now propagandize into spaces. That's the wrong marker. It's a surrender marker. Where are they? Here they are. Okay. Cool. Then we move on.
Doop.
Mountain gangs. There we go. Look at those happy guys.
Yep. What kind of? Well, unless you take the bottom. Yeah.
No, that's not good. I'll do this. So I'm going to propagandize in 2 spaces, here and here. So each of them with sabotage, I can reduce like a will by 1. And then I'm going to travel. And I'll travel from Lanaka underground, from Papas to Famagusta, and from Irenia. I'm just going to take both of these. I'm going to send 1 to Akrotiri, and 1 will come back to Irenia and go underground. And I can go into Akrotiri because there's only 2 guarding. You'll go for it. Nice. Congratulations to Simon Sorter. I hope she's playing the insurgents.
Hope she was not just Death Starring whole systems. Even though I have enjoyed doing that in the games I've played with Joe.
Okay, so I guess the thing that I want to avoid at all costs is you placing a sabotage here. So probably do a limited search in Akrotiri should be fine.
Also have that intel. Could do limited patrol and just wipe them out.
True.
Yeah, but I would lose a 2 intel to just remove 1 unit.
But he is
Like,
pretty
that
spread out, so
Yeah, that feels very super inefficient. And the thing is that I could go there and I guess I could do that. I could send 1. Oh no, I couldn't. Could I?
You could patrol 1 in. Yeah.
you don't have to remove people with patrol. You can just put your police there essentially to lower the odds of a sabotage roll.
Because I guess that I have +2 here, so that's really good. So I could move this guy here and use my intel here to remove that guy here. It's my limited patrol. And next time I'm going to draw 3 intel chits. Critical one for each time with troops, police, and no Yoka. So nowhere. Okay. Good. I've been really lucky with the events. Each time they come up, it's either right after I need them or Cool. I'm gonna interrogate. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to deploy. See, for my deploy, I don't really have a lot of options. That's the only place where I could deploy.
With interrogate, you can only search or assault anyway.
Oh, yeah. And I cannot assault, so I guess...
You can assault.
I have no space where I can assault, right?
Yeah, you could assault in Karinia or in Larnaca, where you have troops and enemies.
Oh, yeah, I could use also the intel chits for that.
Yep.
And can I sum the intel?
If you want to, but I don't think there's any way you need to.
Here, like if I wanted to remove...
That's not underground.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just remove all the underground pieces.
So if I do an assault here, I could use just this and remove this and this.
Yes. Yeah.
So that would me increase my political will by 1.
Yeah, and that gets you another.
You gain another intel as well.
Yeah, and that gives me another intel. And then I could assault here and remove this here to available.
Using by 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I use the 0 instead?
No.
Oh no, it needs to be equal or greater to the units
yeah.
that I'm removing. And I think that's gonna be it then. Yeah. So 2 assaults and an interrogate.
That's pretty nice. Then what do I do? I'll do the event and place Pearl back down in Nicosia and 1 in Lacta. Ooh, no, this is actually quite bad for me.
That's actually that's what I'm thinking, because you don't have the base and you only have 2.
1,
yeah.
2.
Plus 2, 4.
4, and you've got 2 from no base and 2 from this, so it's actually nothing.
Yeah, nothing happens.
So that's actually pretty good for you.
Well, let's see what event I'm going to draw this time. It's also the thing that
let's run through the rest of that as well. So you again another arms cache, which I'll stick here. That was a big mistake on my part, really. You lose 1 intel chit actually, but you can lose your 0.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose the 0. Yeah.
Yep. Fine.
And a question for Simon: did you play with the censorship variant? That's really important. That's the question I ask everyone.
You ask everyone this, and nobody has heard of it, Fred.
Yes, no one.
That's true.
And each time someone say, "Oh, I played Red Flag first," I say, "Have you played the censorship variant?" They never say yes, and it makes me extremely sad.
Fred, you need to move
available
these troops
for free on BGG. Just play the censorship.
You need to move these back to a mountain, to a base.
To a base.
Then and half of my prison. Then you can draw a campaign event.
Let's go for it. Let's see what awful event is waiting for me for the last event of the campaign. Oof. Oh, and I don't get those 2 back, right? Oh, they're
No,
removed.
they're gone.
Oh, yeah, they're removed. It's not like the other one where they come back. That's pretty awful. Reduce Imperial prisoner or place 2 troop on discard and roll a die. Oh my god.
Good odd though.
Well, yeah, sure. I'm gonna go for it. See, Simon hasn't tried it. Shameful, Simon.
Okay. So then you can roll your dice. So you need a 1 to 4.
I need a 1 to 4. Or any British base at the next reset phase. So I will never see those back. So that's the thing.
No.
So that's 4 cubes less overall in this game. So that's nice. I'm gonna roll a 6. Oh no. Okay.
There you go. Okay, you get it.
So I get prestige increased by 1.
And we're actually going to put Marco in the other one. You're doing pretty good in Africa.
Yeah, Africa is going okay, I guess. Like, I couldn't do anything about this one anyway. Those are straight up events. So
Yep. Okay. Then we can go to okay. Mikel. Cypriot Communist Party, who were unwittingly caught up in this secret defense because the British were insistent that the insurgents must be communists, not quite right-wing nationalists.
Yep. In fact, they arrested the exact opponents of Ioka. Show these guys.
Okay, so I'm gonna just do similar.
What was the position of this communist party regarding the Turkish minority?
They were basically opposed to Enosis. They wanted an independent Cyprus.
Okay, with both nationality in Cyprus, neither Greek or Turkish. Yeah, makes sense.
I don't think anyone actually wanted partition to happen at this time period because there actually was no, like, the communities were fairly intermingled and there was not really any tension. And then what was actually the Enosis people, i.e. Ioka, were hoping that there would just be a Turkish minority on Cyprus still and they would just be part of Greece. And then it was only after that basically everything fell apart for them, i.e. an independent Cyprus happened, that they tried all these things like coups trying to take over, and then that's what sparked the Turkish invasion.
Yeah, that's then the second Ioka organization, isn't it? Who become more militantly anti-Turkish, basically. Yep. Ioka 2.
Nicholas says so. Started a campaign. That's really good. I think the game really shines when playing a campaign. All of them are awesome individually, but I think when you play the campaign, it takes a whole new dimension. And Alan is asking you which one do you prefer between the 4?
I think I would pretty much do the same order you did, and that I'd go Malaya, Kenya, Palestine, Cyprus. Actually, the funny thing was that the one I least wanted to design by far was Palestine. I just never thought I would do a game on Palestine. And one of the things you learn pretty quickly if you do these packs as responsibly as possible is that there's going to be at least one topic that you never thought you would design on that you sort of have to just fill out the pack or make the pack make the most sense. And so, like, I actually think that the Arab Revolt 1936 to 1939 is way more interesting than the Jewish period, but that just wouldn't fit as well as this one would and make the campaign work. And it's the same thing actually happened with the guerrilla generation, is that I wanted to do El Salvador really badly, and I wanted to do Peru, and I sort of wanted to do Nicaragua, and then I wanted to do Uruguay like the least, but actually a lot of people I think actually like Uruguay the best. So it's actually a good practice in that what I actually think is my favorite of my children end up being, not necessarily the favorite of other people, which is kind of the way that the multi-packs are kind of nice.
Okay, I'm going to do another infiltrate here to get rid of your intel.
And you get rid of the intel on top of that. My God.
And then I'm actually going to...
Yeah.
I should probably just do sabotage, but I kind of want to recruit. What can I do with infiltrate? I forget. I could actually rob. Ambush even. So I can ambush here to remove another police. Then place an arms cache. And I will not ambush anywhere else. That's enough arms caches. And then you can go.
Well, I think I'm gonna take the event. I don't really have that many better options, really.
Yep, going to arrest some.
So I can do a limited patrol.
Let's arrest this guy because he looks a bit like a communist.
Yeah. So I would send this guy from here to here.
Imagine how furious a member of this organization would be if they got arrested and then publicly declared to be communist by the British. They would just be absolutely mad.
Yes, they would be.
Would not be pleased. They were fighting. Grivas was fighting against the communists in Greece prior to this, wasn't he?
Yes.
During the Civil War.
Yeah, Greek Civil War. And so he would be, anyone that would be in Ioka would be just outraged to be considered to be a communist. But it is actually something that often happens, including in British counterinsurgency more broadly, is that something like that could happen because there's a lot of profile targeting. So I was actually reading about Ireland, potentially to consider whether we should do a British way style game on Ireland 1919 and 1921. And there was a lot of, like, we can tell from the police records of what it means to look like an IRA. And then a lot of, unfortunately, young men got either arrested or even sometimes killed because they just had like the attributes that the British police decided would be what an IRA would look like, which actually meant that a lot of IRA members never came under police scrutiny because they just didn't have those attributes.
I mean, this is no different to modern policing in places.
And just to be clear, I cannot place the police into Karpas because there is not more troop than Ioka, even if it's empty.
No.
Yep. You could use the event to do that, though. Not there, actually, but you could go into Larnaca with it.
Place out of a space with British President patrol up to 2 spaces. The thing is that
doesn't have any intel, so the patrol is.
That's not so useful.
That's useful.
Yeah. I think I really wanna deploy because I want to do deploy and diplomacy. So I'm going to do those two. Then I can move this and this and this here.
Yep.
And then I'm going to do diplomacy. There is no sabotage yet, so it goes straight to 0 and no smuggle.
That's right. Good. I'm gonna do. I feel like I kind of messed it up somehow, but that's fine. I'm gonna do another Rob actually. Yep. I have a plan. For this. We're gonna come together soon.
Yeah, that's actually what I thought you were gonna do. So
really,
I think it's the Stephen approval.
I'm quite surprised. I feel like I've slightly lost the plot, but that's okay. No curfews, so we don't care.
I think
So now.
Yeah, my prediction is that Joe is going to use this to do an offensive force sabotage.
Yeah, offensive, and I'm going to spend this one to do guarantee the success of this one, and then I'm going to do an offensive in all these spaces.
Oof. That's unlucky.
Oops. Ooh,
that's unlucky. Yeah,
I did have some luck earlier on, so it bounced out. So some people have complained or commented on the randomness in this and Palestine, but I think there's enough die rolls that it kind of bounces out.
Yeah, you roll enough.
You can always use an arms cache to guarantee it as well. So.
Yeah, in addition to the arms caches, I also made it so that there's no resource tracking, so that you always get with a full op at least 3 spaces, and you have an odds of 1/3 chance of not succeeding. Yeah. So you should just be kind of thinking in your mind, what are the 2 spaces that I hope to succeed? And if you have an arms cache, you should use it to try to guarantee as much as possible one of those spaces.
I'm going to propagandize then to reduce it.
I'm going to do a limited deploy here.
Very good. See, Stephen, this is the pizza oven I was talking about earlier.
The what? The Easter?
The pizza oven.
Oh, the pizza oven. Yes, that does. Yes. That's basically exactly right.
Okay, I'm going to interrogate first.
That's nice.
Wow.
Ah, putain.
That was pretty bad luck.
Even though I think people are probably right that Cyprus right now, if you really know and hammer home that strategy is probably a little unbalanced, it's very funny to watch Fred get such bad luck.
Oh, putain.
Okay. It's almost like this is part of the best evidence we have that you're cursed. It's either you or Maurice. So they're just the most cursed coin players.
So now I can either assault, but assaults would
You
not
could
be
remove
that.
these two guys.
Yeah.
And I'm actually running low on people.
So it's actually with assault I could remove 3 out of those 3.
Yes, that's true. Actually, you could.
And I think I'm probably going to do that, just because it's going to take you some actions to bring people back
And one
on the
goes.
board.
Every other one goes to prison as well.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna do the 2 assaults, and then I have my intel. Not really sure. Yeah, I think that's pretty much
Don't
it.
think you can use it. Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a little bit rough.
I could
Okay,
use them
so-
for searches in the future, but I don't really have the opportunity for it yet.
I need to think about it.
I certainly know what I would do in this situation.
Yeah, I have.
And it ironically involves him not having used the curfew.
And no, Joe, it's the autofocus on the camera is a bit weird. It's struggling to stay focused when I move on my face, so sometimes I get blurry.
He's doing it in solidarity with me and my blurry camera. Greek government, Mr. Eyebrows. That's good. That's a good one. That's what I'll see what I need right now. How many cards are left though? Enough. Yep. So I'm going to take the event.
And move to
international opinion up to critical opinion on a notice, and then I can put 2 cells. This is a really powerful event actually.
Yeah.
1 in Carpass and
that's exactly what you needed actually.
It is exactly what I needed.
Which is probably, again, if you notice this was going to have a chance, having Greek government support, having also used the Turkish government, I think you exploited the rising tensions. I think they really did need some external support, because essentially what happened is the Turkish government and the Greek government got so worried by what was happening that it was also worsening the relationship with both between them and the UK, that they actually essentially had a meeting and worked out how they were going to have independent Cyprus work, and then almost forced that upon Britain. So in some sense, all of the stuff going on the island just was enough to concern those two, and then that was enough to actually pretty much end the conflict for them.
It's almost, I mean, in terms of the international mediation, it's almost the opposite of Palestine, where the external actors were able to come up with a sensible plan. Although, it didn't last forever. But
no,
I mean, it got a couple of decades of peace before the Civil War, didn't it? Fred, what did you just do with your intel?
So I did diplomacy and search.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yep. Cool. So you can use those 0 intel chits just to do, a small intel lead to search without causing
and
a mess.
because you're still at 2 sabotage, I could move down the diplomacy. It's not the best, but yeah.
No, it's pretty smart actually. Yeah. Ooh, that would not work out in this case, unfortunately. Actually puts me in a bit of a tight spot. I think you're actually able to keep the pressure up reasonably well at this point, because a single sabotage there would not be much use to anyone. So I'm going to Gandos again, and then I'm going to travel. So I can flip that underground, and I can flip some others underground. That one and that one. Traveling around and back. They go out of town, put on a funny disguise, a hat and a false nose, and then wander back into town, whistling innocently. Or probably more realistically, they move to another safe house in town.
Well, we have that event in Uruguay, so something like that actually happens in Uruguay, because they actually robbed a wig shop and like a disguise shop, a costume basically shop, and then they use those in future raids. So there's actually an event related to exactly what Joe's describing in the next multi-pack. So if you that excites you, just go pre-order.
I mean, while both this and Uruguay are very serious events, which impact a lot of people's lives, we laugh about this one being a little bit clownish sometimes, because this organization we're not that competent a lot of time. In Uruguay, they were very competent, but actually also had a sense of humor. So I think they wouldn't mind us finding some of what they did quite funny, because they did do some quite funny things. So that was part of their strategy. Had an almost kind of situation as
the state in that one is actually what makes it more depressing, because there's much more repression than even what the British did in that one. But I do think that Cyprus creates this like a little bit of levity, or let's say less depressing end to the campaign. Whereas like if you ended with Kenya, I think that would have actually almost in some sense had a little bit more crushing at the end of the campaign versus ending with Cyprus, where it's just like, oh, Grievous is hiding out in the hills and they're doing sabotage but not killing a lot of people. Yeah. I think if the expansion does happen and eventually the campaign ends with Aiden, I do think that it'll be ending on a pretty depressing note still.
I will do a limited deploy, and then I will send those two. I need just to check something.
I know what you're up to. You need 4 there, but I know what you're up to.
So don't remove arms question.
That's very smart, yeah.
May remove underground.
This is going to be a quick game.
So I need 4 there. So I think I'm going to need to send everyone.
You're doing well with your extremely reduced troop numbers, actually.
Okay, so I have that final.
That. Speaking of them not killing anybody, here is a classic case of killing somebody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
wow. Yeah. So you interrogated, now you're going to assault.
Yes, and now I'm going to assault.
Just be in a real bind.
And I'm going to assault this. Oh, and that's the only thing I can assault, though.
Yes, yeah, but we'll get a political will and an intel from removing that arms gun.
So I moved that up. I moved it already.
Oh, okay.
And you gain this. Yep. Okay. Puts me in a little bit of a bind, but not too much of a bind, actually. So I'm just going to rob. Do I... 50-50, the next one's the final one, isn't it? So
yeah.
I'm pretty safe, actually. I'm going to rob here.
Yeah.
Do that. And stick it up here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I need to roll for that, actually.
Drill to roll.
Do I do
5
that
or higher?
Yeah, no, 2 or higher. I'm trying to work out if I should do the safe one.
Even with this guy here?
Yeah, they don't. I just need to. So it's for rob instead of sabotage. I just need to roll over the number of cubes in the space. But I'm wondering if I should actually take one from somewhere else and then
just guarantee it in Famagoose.
Guarantee it. That's just 2 points, isn't it? Which is worth guaranteeing, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll do that instead. It means I'll miss out on one less sabotage attempt.
Yeah, that's the
one up. Okay. So I think you might have this one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And you gain back 1, 2. This is actually a really important example of something which has confused some people. So what we don't do is move it down to 0, which would only be 3, and then move it up. We need to work out the net. So I've got -4, and Fred's got +2 from these two. So that's a net -2. So we actually end on exactly on 1, which is a victory for the British. So congratulations, Fred. Very close game.
Isn't the threshold for victory 3? You said?
No, that's get an exit result. Influence rather than
okay.
Yep.
So that means that I get 1 point.
You get an exit, which is 0. It would have been
which is 0. Yeah. So I'm just in the wins. I'm just barely in the wins. Okay.
Yep. So that's probably close to the historical result, Cyprus, I'd say, exit.
Yeah, that's pretty much right, I would say. There's some arguments that the intel machine had gotten so good that they were basically about to arrest Grievous, and that they actually knew where he was, and that it was only because of that international conference with the Greek and Turkish government in the UK that I mentioned earlier that they basically decided not to launch the operation as a risk of essentially doing something so provocative that it would call off the whole conference. But it's a little hard to determine whether that's actually true or not.
But yeah, I think one more turn there, I would have got a whole wave of sabotage, and
probably propagandize, and then that would have sunk it.
That would have finished it. And that's the thing. So and that would have been pretty brutal, because that would have put me at just here.
Then it would have been done in red. So in the red would have been basically a clear insurgent victory in the campaign, colonial flight. We're in the historical result of Winds of Change. That's towards the bottom of it, where the campaign book says that me and Fred now need to have a discussion about how the campaign went for the City one. But Stephen's carefully engineered so that normally this will be the result.
Yes.
So how should we handle the discussion? What do you recommend, Stephen, to players to start the discussion around how do we debrief on the campaign itself?
So the first thing I would do is I would look at how you did across the 4 games, and then the second thing I'd look at is how did the other colonies go, And then I do think it would be helpful if you kind of splayed out the campaign cards as you play to see what may have helped or hurt you in terms of it. And then the very last thing I would discuss is that if you're in that Winds of Change category, I would talk about how much British repression the British player used. Because like I think if it's as close as Wind of Change, then it's going to be kind of ambiguous what Britain's legacy is going to be. And so if you think about like how did you behave in Kenya, how did you behave here in Cyprus in terms of the amount of curfews, which you didn't use a lot, which actually was good, then I think that was almost like the tiebreaker of your discussion. If you are kind of like divided on who actually essentially did better and how they left.
So these are only the cards from Kenya and Cyprus because I didn't save the other ones, unfortunately.
So we only have the late.
So Kenya, the events were much more punitive, I'd say. You had the Conservative Party at odds with the Movement for Colonial Freedom, so more dramatic debate there. Whereas in Cyprus, it was more about stuff going on in Egypt, basically, which Fred handled really badly. So in Kenya, Fred used the Conservative Party well and managed to avoid the problem from Movement for Colonial Freedom, I think. So I think Kenya was played very cunningly by the British, and they used a reasonable amount of repression that managed to keep it hidden, basically.
I remember that Fred's play in Kenya was very kinetic, which is actually different than a lot of how other people play, is that you basically hammered airstrike and sweep.
Yeah.
Which is probably also a good idea. And so probably not as repressive as some people play Kenya. I don't remember what you did in Palestine or Malaya, though.
In Palestine, it was a shit show.
Probably some mass detentions. If you lost that badly, you probably did some mass detentions.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I cannot. If you give me the option to do mass detention, Stephen, I will do mass detention. I love mass detention. Like that's the thing that I like doing. Like, are you telling me I'm going to put a lot of people in prison and I can interrogate them? Yeah, I want to do that. Like that's the thing that I will always do. So it really went really poorly. I poorly managed that emergency. It was pretty catastrophic. I think Malaya was close up until the end. I don't have I should probably look back, but I don't have a bad memory of Malaya in the sense that
it was a close one. It was really tight, I think.
Yeah, I think it was really tight on the final cards. It was really a matter of do I have the time to do something or not? But I used the villages, so I did some actually moving around of the population and everything. So I've done some pretty bad things, I would say, in Malaya, definitely. Kenya is the one I got. I was more bold in Kenya because I think it's the game also with which I was the more comfortable, and I was pretty comfortable with the strategy that I was using. Keep thinking that it was going to work out, and I was pretty convinced that no one was going to say anything on the international side, and I got really lucky with the event. Like it really paid off. I could do exactly what I wanted to do. Nobody cared, and I could be as aggressive as I wanted.
In classic British fashion, you don't actually know where Kenya is. That's in fact in Nyasaland, which you.
If you'd done this event, that would have helped you even more than probably the ones you did get, which is essentially this is the you're not held accountable for your actions event. This is actually the burning the documents that I referenced earlier with the Stewart thread. So I think that this is also one that can be quite evocative if you find yourself ending up high on Wind of Change or actually succeeding at colonial retrenchment, then you're basically got away with crimes that then people don't know about because you covered it up. And, like you should reflect on that if that's how you actually won the campaign, I think. But luckily Fred didn't have to rely on that in Kenya as much, but that helps a little bit. And I think people are probably can help dodge actually that probably encourages people to use curfews more that I read that again.
And then in the end, Cyprus was painful, especially the campaign events were brutal. I think, the -4 from Operation Musketeer was awful. I mean, any other result would have put me comfortably in the middle zone, having that -4 here. I see myself here.
If he succeeded, then
if I had succeeded, I would actually be here. I would be actually here. So that was a shit show.
It's a fun card to have in the game, I think. Probably one of my favorites that you can have this big final gamble.
And I could have accepted
it works really well for it.
I could have accepted just
Please one.
reduce it by one, and I would be actually here, which would be actually nicer.
Yeah.
But no, greed,
Mhm.
hubris led me to that. So I think that in a way, I don't know what would be an historical outcome, but I feel like it's probably not that
This
far.
is actually pretty close. So I
Yeah.
would say, other than Malaya, the results we've had here, and not having so many international events, this is pretty close to Temple.
Yeah, if you did a little bit better than Malaya and it came down very close, and then you get hit by partition, you pretty much get right where we would have ended up with Imperial Prestige. And I think that would be fairly accurate to how the campaign overall went. I guess, yeah. And historically, you did shoot protesters in Nyasaland, so that would not be
that one didn't go so well historically.
Yeah,
Gold Coast was the slightly more peaceful one, wasn't it? Historically.
They also shot protesters. In Gold Coast, there's a trend here if you can't figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, the one which was a little bit more peaceful was in Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, but yeah, I'm inclined to say this is actually erring towards a slight British victory given the results they got here. So I think it went less badly. They could have got a big victory if they carried off Operation Musketeer. So, and I think I maybe should have won Cyprus, but didn't quite manage to push hard enough.
Yeah.
So one way of interpreting that kind of Joe's interpretation of a British result with the historical outcome is that, and I think this is actually very close to the historical outcome, is that this basically convinces the world that you're no longer a really great power that we need to pay attention to, while at the same time, Britain still has a lasting legacy in many of its colonies. And I think that's what the kind of result you guys got here, which is that you've done some things where people don't really see you as a great power anymore, or at least not on the same level as the Soviet Union and the United States. And that you're basically now seen as just a subordinate actor of the U.S., which is essentially the big problem and what they were willing to gamble at during the Suez Crisis. But at the same time, it's not like you've left the empire in such a horrific way that you have burnt all of your influence that you still had there. So yeah, I would agree that that's pretty much a good idea of where you essentially ended up.
Yeah, I mean, one way as well to interpret the lack of us drawing these events is to put exits on all of them, because he didn't lose any influence from them, and then it looks like
the map looks like
if he had completely non-newsworthy exits from India, Burma, and North Coast, which that's one way to think about not drawing those events, is that he still leaves India, but nobody really comments on it because it goes fairly smoothly. Or you could play a game of Gandhi to decide who wins.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably something that we could do. I still haven't played Gandhi, by the way, so
we should do that sometime. I think Bruce would be happy to come on a stream.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he will. Okay. I was thinking about getting him on the show at some point. So that would be actually great, and a really nice follow up to actually having finished the series. Thanks Augustus for the comment. I would say that I already said this multiple times, but I really feel like this game is as a campaign is really a quite a unique experience. I think it's quite amazing. And even though you heard me whine and complain during Cyprus because I really struggle against Yoka and I cannot wrap my head around how they work, I think I probably should play them maybe 2 or 3 games in a row to better understand how they work, to be better at it. But I always felt like they were so painful to play against.
Do you find it more painful than playing Palestine against Ergun?
I hate Ergun. that's the other.
Yeah, counterterrorism games basically.
What you like are a good clear enemy who you can go into the field and shoot rather than people hiding in towns.
But I also like I would say the more touristy organizations organization that I really struggle against in those 2 games. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case in the Guerrilla Generation. I don't know. Probably not. I love the Guerrilla Generation. I think all of them for different reasons. But this one, I think that the arc that comes with the campaign, that's what I said. Like all of the games, I think are really interesting games and really really cool. You know what? And I don't know if you would like this, Stephen, but I don't think they were such great introductory coin games, if I'm being honest. I think they were, in a sense, a bit like, I think they were fake introductory games, a bit like Cuba Libre, in the sense that people think that it's a good introductory game because it's smaller and everything, but actually it's probably not as easy to get into than Abyss. And those one are actually maybe they're good. Like if you're interested in the topic and you're playing with someone who's as experienced as you are, and to get into the coin series, that's actually fine. But I think if you play against someone who's a reasonable coin player and has played this one already, you're gonna get trashed pretty brutally. And it's a game. Those games are really sharp individually.
I mean, it's a problem with any competitive two-player game.
Yeah,
really.
that's true. But that's the thing, is that it is maybe more competitive than other games, because in other games you have other players that might help you out, do something, and the balance is going to be restored by the players' interactions. So everyone is going to bundle up against the one who's leading, and the one who's behind is going to have some time left alone to actually get a better understanding of what's happening. They're going to have more rounds to figure out different things. Those one you have at the same time. The system are pretty complex as a whole. Like they are very distinct. So what you learn from one game, you cannot really reapply to another. So you have this, and you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. Like you don't have that many actions. You really have to be really efficient with each of your actions, because you're always on the edge of the propaganda card almost all of the time. Like 50% of the game, you're on the edge of the propaganda card, and you have to optimize all of your actions. And I think that makes them actually quite hard in a sense. But
I would actually agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that I've been interested by the response of people to the British way, and that there's the whole idea of baby coin, and I do think a lot of people are calling it intro, but there's two strong areas where I actually agree with you quite strongly, which is that about this not necessarily maybe being as intro as people think, or that the first being that to your point of there's more limited choice and there's no one else to save you, is I actually think the coin series, despite being on very difficult topics, are actually very nice games. It's basically impossible to get player in elimination. Your choices actually over the course of a big mega campaign aren't actually that dangerous, if you make a mistake. Whereas in reality, if you're playing as Ioka or Ergen in real life, if you make a big mistake, the British are going to kill you.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter. And that's the truth of a lot of insurgencies, is that there's this notion you can just wait in the jungle, but you'll become irrelevant. So you have to always still be doing stuff and stay relevant. And that's a very intentional pressure of the game. And so in this case, I actually think that they're intentionally meaner. Even if they're simpler, they're also very mean. And that was a conscious choice. And then the other one is that NB actually said this nicely, and I thought it was funny, is that he hates that people call the game light, because he thinks the topic is darker than most GMT games.
Yeah.
And so it's just this idea that I have created this thing that's perceived now as baby coin or an intro, when I've tried to make it as dark as possible, or at least as dark as I can get away with. I think that it's good. Like putting civilians in the rule book, very not shying away from anything. And so I do think it's actually, even though there's coin games that are on, I think, more brutal topics, I think the British way is more honest about the brutality in the topics it covers. And so if it got nominated, for instance, and this would be very generous if people did this, for one of those accessible wargaming awards, like the one that you won, for instance, I would actually feel uncomfortable with that, because I don't think that people should actually take the British way and be like, this is a good intro to the hobby, because you're encountering a very mean game about a very specific topic that's also very brutal. And so I'd much rather people take votes for women and be like, here's my ambassador for the hobby, or freedom.
I will say, so I mean, I agree with all of that, but in terms of learning very loosely some of the coin system mechanics in less than 2 hours with just one other player, I do think these games can serve as introductory in that sense. But somebody has to be prepared for the topic material, certainly. So it's not introductory or kind of easy in that sense, and also they'll almost certainly lose, because it's like playing chess against an experienced chess player, particularly the ones with less high rolls. And they don't have that multiplayer dynamic. But if you play Malaya, you'll learn how a sweep operation works, things like this, which is somewhat transferable to other coin games.
But I think, to Stephen's point, and that's the thing that I would say, is that I would never introduce someone to wargaming using, for example, Kenya. That would be the worst thing I could do. I think to get in a point where you can, and I won't say feel comfortable, because I'm not comfortable playing Kenya, but I know what I'm getting into. I'm well aware of what's happening and everything. I think in a way it demonstrates what wargaming can be and how seriously they can take their topic. And this is that's why I'm proud to have this box, because I think it's probably the game that does it the best among all of the games that I have. like the care that it takes to address those topics. But I think it's like it is a proposal, like a gaming proposal that you're giving that is really rough. I think maybe Cyprus is definitely not that. I think Cyprus is a bit more a bit more fun in that regard, definitely compared to the other three. But yeah, the other three, that's like you're asking for someone to get really into something pretty spicy to start with, and I wouldn't necessarily start by that. In that regard, I would say that definitely, like the Cuban Revolution was not like a gala dinner or something like this, but it was probably not as dark as what is portrayed in those games. I don't know. I think Kenya is pretty hardcore.
So I say in the design notes, this is like, if you own the game and you haven't read the design notes, first off, shame on you. Second off, you should obviously run to read my words. What are you thinking? But the thing that I would spoil for you that's in those design notes is I think that civilian victimization, which is really the core often of a regular conflict, is included but not emphasized in previous Coin Series games. And in fact, just to give people a spoiler, I have my copy of Sovereign of Discord advanced proof copy, so that'll be coming in a few months. And one of the things I did with the Sovereign of Discord is to include more events that actually highlight some of the other things the U.S. did, kind of like I did in Kenya, because I think that in some previous coin games, if I'm going to be honest, I think particularly the counterinsurgents get off pretty easy. And like, I think that like they nest in that aspect of them, they're not aging as well as they probably should. At least if I put on like my scholar hat of like someone who studies civilian victimization for a living, and I look at these as like educational products from afar, I think that some of the earlier coin games probably are, in the sake of fun, including but not necessarily emphasizing aspects that they probably should if they were going to be as educational as we would hope them to be.
And that's fair, but it's still, to my point, it makes those games maybe more approachable as a first, like as an introduction to the coin series, or also potential war games and everything, because like the other ones that you did, they actually emphasize on that, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's something that was probably a bit weak in other coin games. So you really like dialed it up compared to the others. And I think entering through that, I don't know. I think I just think that it's not as that obvious for me that this is the best intro to the coin system.
At least Jest of Robin Hood solves one of those things. I think Jest of Robin Hood is incredibly mean, which is why I love it. It is incredibly mean, but at least there's very little violence. And I think you did a very good job of communicating political messages. It's the most accessible in that respect. Let's put it that way. And I think it serves a very good role as doing that before people want to ramp up to get to the depressing stuff that I churn out. But it's just if anything, it's meaner than the British way, just to be clear.
But yeah, I would say I was super happy to do that campaign. It was great to also have you, Stephen, for most of those games. That was really cool to have you provide the historical context, but also provide some comments while we were playing and all that. So I think that was really, really cool. I really appreciated that. I hope that we do exactly the same thing for the guerrilla generation. Actually, I don't.
It'll be a little different because
not exactly the same thing. But I want us to go through
the game.
I want us to go through the full 4 game, and I want us to start before it's being released, like we did for this one. And I would like to do the same thing. Do you have any idea of when we can expect the guerrilla generation to be released? Is it going to be more next, like it's halfway through
probably
next year?
A while. In the sense that like the orders have been like getting very close to like 750, which is kind of my internal deadline of when I was going to start devoting more time to it. But there's a few very small things in terms of balance that I want to work on a little bit. But I've just been very busy recently. So Joe has been like very politely, I think, not even reminding me, but he probably should be reminding me.
I mean, I haven't been working on my own games either, which you're the developer for both of you. So
Joe and I are very busy, but you'll get some inside GMT articles relatively soon, let's say in a month or two. And I'll start, like, you're going to start seeing more now that this has getting closer to us, see more of work on the guerrilla generation. But I think that it just all depends, I think, on how quickly GMT decides that they want it to go to art, given the amount of orders. Because I can very quickly do a turnaround on the getting everything ready for them. So, I mean, it's just going to be a question of basically the art queue, which is, I think, pretty hard for Joe and I to predict.
Yeah. Do you want to say maybe a bit, talk a bit to Sovereign of Discord? Because now that you have the preview copy, maybe just to for the people who don't know, for them to be aware of what's in the box, what can they expect?
This is the prequel expansion, to Fire in the Lake that I designed, and it's actually going to, since I have the proof copy, you'll probably be charged for it in like a month or two or something like that. And if you want to see, I should say, what the components look like inside the box, you can just go to the BGG page. My images of all of those have actually been approved and they're up. So if you want to see them, that's fine. But you can think of it as, I would say, like adding two big components to Fire in the Lake, which is, first, it covers the earlier years of 1961 to 1963, which is actually more of an insurgency than the later stuff. And it also, the big feature of that earlier period, besides being kind of more of an insurgency, is the US and the NBA have their own mats, basically, of where they're deciding how much foreign intervention they want to do, because they don't have the heavy troop presence on the map as they did later in the war. And so essentially you can transition from this period where the US and the NBA are advisors to their relative proxies in South Vietnam, to later where what you get in Fire in the Lake, which is essentially once both of them have intervened with their own troops. And there's a mechanism that lets you, essentially a process that lets you transition that, I think, relatively smoothly. And then the other big thing it comes with is new short scenarios, and more importantly, new bonus events for the base game. And so you get 40 new bonus events. So if you want to, for instance, have more variability in Fire in the Lake, and you can actually see some of the bonus events right now on BGG. I tease some of them. And particularly one of the two things we focused on with those bonus events is, like I already mentioned, covering some more of the civilian victimization during the war, and also covering more of women's role in the war, so that you actually, when you're seeing the mechanics play out, you'll remember all of what ways that women were actually participating in the mechanics that were already going on in Fire in the Lake, and that you might take for granted as being dominated by men, even though that women actually played a pretty big role in a lot of the mechanics that are baked into the game.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting additional layer and context to the actual game. I'm really looking forward to this one. So when it will be out, I think we'll do probably a Sovereign of Discord also stream. And what I expect that we do, Joe, is what I would like to do. We'll see if it's possible. But I think for the next PunchCon, I would like to record a full playthrough of Sovereign of Discord, Fire in the Lake, Fall of Saigon.
What we said, we weren't going to do all of it together in one big thing. Maybe over 2 days.
But we can do it over 2 days, and I just want to record it. I won't record the whole thing because no one is going to want to watch 8 hours of stream, but I think I want to have like a log of it, like an after-action report, where I will also have some maybe in between games, or for each propaganda, having each faction saying how it's going, how are things, and you have a map update. And I think it could be really fun to do that, and maybe having like a couple of experts giving their opinion. So we could have Stephen, Volko, and Mark just looking at the board situation and giving their expert opinion on the different stages. So if you want this to happen, a good thing would be to actually support the channel on Ko-fi, because then I would get maybe the missing material that I might not have to actually being able to pull this off. So you can support the channel on Ko-fi by donating any amount is fine. And the other thing that I would say is remember to subscribe, to support the channel, because that pleases the algorithm gods of YouTube for some reason. So remember to do that. And I really enjoyed the series. Thanks for everyone who was being here tonight. That was really great. Joe, regarding your copy, I have no idea what happened with your copy. I don't know even where you ordered it, so we cannot really help you there. And we are not, we're not like commercial support of GMT, even if that might sound surprising. So maybe you should probably reach out to the people who can actually help you, Joe. That would be perfect. And Chip is in favor of the full playthrough of the full Fire in the Lake. So, and Chip is already a Ko-fi donator, so he's actually, putting money where his mouth is. So that's great. So thanks everyone for being here, for having watched this whole series. We'll be back for I don't know what. What I can tell you is that the next videos are going to be on the channel Friday. On Friday morning, I will be playing with Russ, Mess at Any Cost, which would be the first playthrough of the game in the blind sword system, and because we are going to play other ones in the future with Stuart, because there is a lot of American Civil War games there. So be there on Friday morning, and then Friday night, for the first time on the channel, we'll have Amabel Holland coming on the show, and we will do a teach and play with Joe of the Field of the Cloth of Gold.
Gold.
Yeah, gold. Yeah, not God.
I mean, God is also there. That's one of the options. Is God.
Yeah. And we'll do that. Super happy to do this stream. And I think the other thing that might be interesting to know is that on Wednesday night, I don't remember at what time, but that might be 3 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. UK. I would be on Liz's channel, so Beyond Solitaire, and we're going to do some wargame archaeology. So we're reading all the wargaming magazines from the 70s, and we're going to debrief what we think about those magazines. So if you want to join, that should be pretty fun. And if you're maybe old grognards are going to be probably a bit pissed off because we might be a bit critical of some of the articles in there. But it's just a way of looking back, thinking about how people were looking at war games in the 70s. And actually, we're going to do a series of those. So we're going to go 70 year after year, and we're going to see how wargame journalism has evolved over time, the perception around wargaming. So have a look at Beyond Solitaire, subscribe to Liz's channel, and see me there. And I think that's pretty much it for all the promotion that I can push into a couple of minutes at the end of the video. So thanks for everyone for being here. Thanks again, Stephen and Joe, and see you soon. Bye-bye.